All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be talking about things like skilled and unskilled workers. We're going to be talking about, again, wages, things like that. We're going to examine the different ways businesses have taken advantage of the workers. Okay. And then we're going to create an argument on whether unions are a good thing or a bad thing. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the warm up. So here's the picture. The first question asks you what's going on here, right? So analyze the picture, look at it, right? Break it down. Now, the second question asks you to point out some things that are, uh, oh my goodness, I just forgot the word right now. Uh, all right, so the thing is, you're supposed to look for contradictions in this picture. Um, as a little helper, you should really look at what these people are saying. Okay, look at what they're saying, and then look how they are, and you might find at least two contradictions between what they're saying and how they are. Okay, so pause the video, write your responses because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so the civilian labor force. This is basically anyone who's 16 years or older who are either looking for a job or have a job. Okay, now when it says someone looking for a job, it's not like, oh, I'm looking for a job because my parents are making me, or I'll just apply for a job here, and if I don't get it, well, I'll just apply like next month. No, we're talking about people who are actually looking for jobs or people who have jobs. If you are one of those people, you count as this, as a civilian labor force. All right. Now, the number of people who fall into this category is actually higher now. It's actually about 150, 160 million people. Um, Not everyone is counted in the civilian labor force. Number one is military. Now, I was asked in class, how come the military people aren't seen as like workers? Because here's the thing: the going into the military is seen more as a service than it is as a job. So that's why they really don't count them. Another group of people, people in prison. Yeah, they might have a job working, doing something with, making license plates or making, shelves and chairs and stuff like that. But if they get out of prison, it's not like they can go back and say, "Hey, I want that job back." You know, no, they can't do that. All right. And other institutions are included. Again, people who are bedridden, things like that, they can't work anymore, so they're not added. Now, workers have been trying to organize for years and years and years and years. The first time workers actually organized was in 1778 in our country. The people who did this were painters, right? Because why? They wanted higher pay. Because what would happen is, let's say I'm a person who wants their house painted. I might go to one company, one group of company, and be like, "Hey, how much do you charge for paint a house? $100. Okay, go to somebody else. Hey, how much would you charge to paint a house? Well, $100. Well, see, I talked to this other group and they said they do it for 100. Is there any way you do it for 90? You know, so they were like, oh, we really could, really want to do 100, but we do need a job. So, okay, 90. Then the person will go to another place and be like, how much do you charge to paint a house? Oh, $100. See, I really want to hire you, but this other group said they'll work for 90. Could you guys do for 80? And they might be like, well, yeah, we need the job, so yeah, 80. And that's what people would do. They would pit companies against one another until the price got really, really low, and then they would hire that group to do the job. So the person, they benefited from this. The workers didn't. Okay. So what they did, once they united, then this all of them said, no, 100, that's the lowest we can go, all of us. So that person had to, they wanted to do it themselves. They could save that money, but If they're going to hire somebody, they had to pay $100. Okay. After that, unions started to form. Shoemakers, carpenters, tailors, things like that. Now, what do these unions do? They negotiate agreements covering stuff like hours, pay, working conditions, things like that. Now, if you look at that picture right there, those are kids, ages from 8 to 10. My bad. 8 to 12. That's not just dirt on their face, that's coal. Okay? Thing is, you have to remember, these kids would work in the mines in little areas that they could fit through, digging in and things like that. Thing is, they would breathe in that coal, and they developed this thing called black lung. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but your lung is like a sponge, and coal is this rock. So this microscopic pieces of rock would be cutting their lungs and stuff like that. And if you've ever left your sponge, let's say you're washing dishes and there was like Kool-Aid, in a cup, and you just dump the sponge in there, you wake up the next morning, that sponge is going to be the color of that Kool-Aid. Same thing happened with these kids. Their lungs started becoming black. And when they coughed, they didn't cough like spit and moisture. They would cough up pieces of coal as well as like spit and stuff like that. And it come out sometimes black. Again, from that ash and from that pieces of coal that's in their lungs. A lot of these kids did not live to be old age, and those who did, they spent the rest of their lives with lung problems, breathing issues. Okay, so because of unions, overtime, you get that. Paid vacation days, you get that. Days off, like holidays and things like that, you get that. Um, you get air conditioning. The area you work at is clean and things like that. You don't have things hanging off the roof. You know, all that stuff is because of unions. Now, before the Civil War, a majority of the workforce people worked at farms. The next biggest group, people who worked at small businesses, grocery store, a trading store, maybe a post office, things like that. And the last group of people were self-employed. They had their own business. They made stuff like chairs, rocking chairs, tables, saddles, things like that. You know. Now, after the Civil War, factories just blew up, especially in the North. And it was huge, big. There were so many jobs that people across the Atlantic, people in Europe, basically said, you know what, I hear in America they have jobs for everyone, so let's go. People wanted to get a better life, so they came over. Thing is, the companies at that time saw these immigrants coming in as like a godsend, like, oh, thank goodness these guys are coming. Not that they want them there, no. They're happy because this is cheap labor coming in. Okay? A lot of these companies would tell their workers, hey, look at, there's a bunch of guys coming in, they need jobs. They'll work for, say you're making $1 an hour. These guys will work for 75 cents an hour. Now, if you drop your wages down to 75 cents, I would love to keep you on, because you're great. But if you can't accept it, I'm going to have to fire you and hire one of these guys. So some workers said, okay, fine, lower my pay. Some workers said no, and they were fired. They were let go. And the companies hired a lot of immigrants. And that's what they would do, constantly undercut them. Hey, you know what? There's a group of guys. They're coming here. They need jobs. They'll work for 50 cents. I want to keep you on still, but you have to cut your pay again. If you don't like it, I understand, but we're going to have to let you go. That's the kind of stuff they did back in the day. So they still got the workers to work and do things. It's just now the pay is going lower and lower and lower and lower. That's the kind of stuff businesses did to take advantage of the workers. All right. Now, the first trade slash craft union to form were cigar makers. Now, I'm sure you may not know how cigars are made, but they get the tobacco leaf, they roll them, and then they tuck them, they roll them tight again, tuck them, stuff like that. To get a good cigar, it has to be tight really, really well. Rolled up really, really tight, really, really well. Um, can anyone roll a cigar? Sure. Are they going to do a great job? Heck no, not at first. Not definitely not the first cigar or the 10th or the 100th. It might be in the hundreds, couple hundreds, that they finally get really good at it and be able to do it like nobody's business. So rolling up a cigar, that was a skill. Okay. Now, what's the difference between an unskilled and a skilled worker? Basically, you have to ask yourself this: can anyone do that job and do it well? Okay. Flipping a hamburger doesn't require special skills, right? You just got to realize, okay, it's going to get burned if I don't turn it. Okay. Can anyone do like a welding? Sure. Anyone could be a welder, but are they going to do a good job if they don't know what they're doing? Heck no. Welding is a skill. You need to know what you're doing and how to do it and things like that. What's this equipment, how to use it. And not every metal you weld the same. Different metals require different tools and different heat and things like that. So you have to know what you're doing if you're a welder. That takes a skill. Sometimes there's some type of certificate saying you know what you're doing and you know how to do it. Um, no disrespect to janitors and maintenance people, but it doesn't take rocket science to clean a floor. You know, are there some things that you need to know about? Sure, but it's like I won't use this chemical on this floor because it'll eat the wax. All you have to do is read it on the bottle, but some people don't even do that. Hate to say it, but it happens. But that's really the difference between a skilled and unskilled worker. Can anyone do it? Now, someone in class asked me, well, teachers. Well, here's the thing. Could anyone teach history? Sure. Could they do it well? Could they explain it well? Could they have the patience, the knowledge to be like, okay, well, this kid doesn't understand it. How can I change things up to where they can understand it? Does everyone have that skill? No, especially patience. Not many people have it. That's why I hear it all the time. People will say, "Oh, what kind of job you do?" I'm a teacher. Oh my goodness, they can't handle it. So, is a teacher a skill job? Kind of. You do need a degree to do it, but also to um, anyone could really be a teacher. Again, you just got to have the schooling and the patience and things like that. Okay. Also, on that same token, is every unskilled job, do they pay them less? No. Some jobs, like plumbers, they make pretty good money. You know, they make pretty good money because nobody wants to deal with that kind of stuff. So they make good money. All right. So, yes, a majority of unskilled jobs pay less as opposed to skilled jobs. Okay, because again, skilled jobs, you need some type of certificate, some type of training, some type of education. All right. Whereas unskilled, you really don't need it. Now, unskilled laborers felt that they were being unappreciated. They were like, how come these guys get these unions and things like that, and we don't? We deserve one as well. And when people question them, like, why do you need a union for? You're an unskilled worker. They basically said, we don't want to be taken advantage of by the owners of these industries. That's the whole thing again about unions. That's their purpose. Okay. All right. So here's your first question. What are some advantages and disadvantages to being a skilled and unskilled worker? Okay. So think about stuff like, again, pay, the time it takes to become, to do that, job, whatever it may be. Think about the education requirements. Think about, again, the availability of that job, whether it's a skilled or unskilled job. Can you find that job just around the corner anywhere? Things like that. So take your time, think about it, and write your responses. Okay, so pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So unions try to help workers negotiate for better terms. Okay, now before I move on, guys, I don't want to make it sound like unions are perfect and they're all great and this and that. Some unions aren't that great. Some are amazing. Like teachers' unions, amazing. These guys are great. But again, some unions, they kind of drop the ball here and there. They're not as on top of things as they should be. So again, are they all perfect in this and that? No. Okay, but they are formed with the idea of helping workers get better terms at the job sites. Now, what is the best way for workers to hurt a company? Going on strike. Number one way. And here's why. When the workers aren't working, the company is losing money. All right. So recently, Kellogg's, the people who make cereal and things like that, Rice Krispie treats, things like that, the workers went on strike. So think of it like this: all that corn and some of that coming into the factory that needs to be processed and things like that, it's just sitting there. Nobody's taking care of it. No one's pushing it through, things like that. Is that corn going to stay nice and perfect for after 3 weeks? No, right? It's gonna get nasty. It's gonna get moldy and this that, and you can't use it anymore. Think about all the stuff inside the machines. The cereal mix and things like that. That's gonna get nasty too. And also the stuff that's finished, the products, things are in the boxes already, ready to be shipped out. They're not being shipped out. So every day, people are not working at these companies. They're losing money. Okay. Workers typically picket at the entrance of the factory or industry, not only to prevent people from going in, but also mainly to bring out public awareness. This is what's going on. And this is another big thing I try to talk to you guys in class about. Unless you do a certain job, you have no idea what it's like to do that job. I was a dishwasher, a busboy, and a waiter. So when I hear other people say like, "Oh yeah, I'm a, I'm a waiter, man," and geez, my God, these people and this and that, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was a waiter too. I know exactly what you mean." We have that same experience. A lot of people don't know what it's like to work at the Amazon factories, you know, but those people who work there, they know how it feels like and what's the treatment and the pay and the how they're treated there by the management, things like that. They know how it feels like. I have no idea because I've never worked there. So when they say all these things, I believe them because why? They work there. I don't. So when these people strike and they're saying we're being treated horrible, we're not getting paid as well, we're being forced to work, double overtime, things like that, you know, you should really listen to those guys because again, they're the workers. They know what it's like there. You don't because you just shop there. Okay. So that's why they do that to bring public awareness. Now, besides a strike, sometimes an owner could call for a lockout. Basically, this is when the employees and the management are told, You guys need to get your crap together. You guys talk, discuss, negotiate. And neither of you guys are going to get paid until you guys come up with a solution. Does this happen all the time? No. Has it happened in the past? Yes. The reason why it doesn't happen all that much is because majority of the time the owner of this company tends to side with the management. All right, but in this case, the owner is just like, I'm taking myself out of this. You guys negotiate. And until you guys come up with a solution, nobody's getting paid, right? You still work, you still have the jobs, but you're not getting paid. And that usually gets people to negotiate and come together quickly, right? The other thing is sometimes companies, instead of letting another company, another union come in and see what's going on and things like that, sometimes companies say, you know what? If you really want a union, you go ahead and start one in our company. Now, why would they do this? Why would they do that, right? A lot of students were asking me in class, well, that's kind of stupid. Why would they do that kind of stuff? Because here's the thing. Let's say there's a union that's been around for 150 years. Okay, I just threw that number out there. They've been doing it for a long time. They know what other companies, what those workers are getting in meaning of like pay, vacation, working conditions, things like that. They know what other ones are getting. Now, if someone starts a union in that company, one company, are they going to know what other people are getting from their companies as regards to pay, vacation days, um, and working conditions? No, huh? They're not going to know. So while other companies might be giving their workers like a $10 raise, the union that's foreign within the company might say, we want a $2 raise. Now the companies are going to know about the other companies, how much they're raising, they're giving other people. So they might be like, you know what? You're really killing me with this $2. Is there any way we can go $1? No, no, $2, $2. You guys drive a hard bargain, but I can agree to that. All right, that gets you guys back to working. Fine, $2 raise. They might be happy, but really they're shortchanging themselves because again, they don't have that knowledge that other companies are getting a higher raise. Okay, so that's why it's imperative that those workers know what's going on. And that's why those owners basically say, okay, you want to make one, make it yourself, because they don't know what it's like to negotiate, what to ask for, things like that. So here's your next question. Overall, who do you think suffers the most during a strike? The workers or the company? Now remember, like I said, the company does not make money, but neither do the workers. So let's say after 2 months, let's get to that timeline. 2 months. Overall, who do you think suffers the most? The workers or the company? And why do you believe that? So if you say workers, explain why. If you say the company, explain why. Okay. So pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. Now, historically, courts have always ruled in favor of the companies over unions. Back in the day in England and here in the US, unions were seen as a conspiracy group that tried to hurt the country. They saw them as, the courts basically saw the unions as like anti American. And even to this day, some people see the unions as like, why are you trying to destroy America for? Why are you trying to hurt American businesses? Don't you care about Americans and American jobs and things like that? Yeah, they do. They just want to make sure that people get a decent wage, are actually getting vacation days, that their work conditions are safe, that they're not being taken advantage of. So a lot of people who are anti-unions, I tend to always like to ask them stuff like, uh, "Do you get overtime at your job?" Yeah. Oh, cool. Thank you, union. Do you get days off on federal holidays? And you get paid? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you, union. Get paid vacation days? Yeah. Thank you, union. Sick leave, maternity leave, things like that. You like that kind of stuff? Thank a union, because that's what they did. Now, one of the biggest court cases that happened back in the day that really, really hurt the unions was in 1902. The United Hatters Union, they called for a strike of this hat manufacturer in Danbury, Connecticut. Now, instead of having the workers outside the factory picketing and things like that, what they decided to do was go to stores that bought the hat from that company. And they basically told them, okay, look, here's the thing. That company treats their workers like crap. The working conditions suck. People have fainted, because the heat is so big in that place, they just collapse on the ground. They get paid like nothing. They work long hours, you know. Now, here's the thing. You might not care about that. You might be like, well, that's business. That's how it is. But ask yourself this, who buys your hats? Is it those owners? No, right? They have their own hats from the company. The people buy the hats from you. So how would it be if you're basically saying, oh, to heck with them, we could care less, when they are your customers? So a lot of these stores were like, oh, gosh, you're right, huh? Yeah, those owners don't buy hats from us. It's the workers who buy the hat from us. Yeah, you know what? We're going to cancel our order. And a lot of stores did that. They canceled the orders and basically told them, hey, you guys are doing this. We heard you're doing this to your workers, this working conditions, the hours, the pay. We're not going to buy from you. So what happened was, instead of collapsing and saying, okay, fine, here, you can get your work conditions better, pay better, things like that. No, they sued the United Hatters Union. The company sued them. And what happens when they went to court, the court said, yes, the Hatcher unions organized a illegal boycott. And basically the company sued them and won. This, like I said, really hurt unions for years. Because anytime a union tried to do something, a company could sue them and say they did an illegal boycott. Here's a court case that proves that that's true. And it's a precedent. They can use that court case over and over again. And that's what happened. So for years, unions were defenseless against companies. All right, and I know there was another question, but I don't know what happened to the slide, so it might got deleted, so it's okay. But here's your exit ticket question. The first one says, name two differences between skilled and unskilled workers. Okay. The next question asks you, are unions a good thing or a bad thing, and why do you believe this? Okay. So write your responses. Okay. Once you're finished, you are done with this lesson. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay. Um, so you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.